Okay guys, so it's winter time, and to me I wanted to kind of get my YouTube channel going again with just something simple, which is how we pressure the club to the target and getting the plane and the face to really match up to produce this tilt and shots that we like to hit. So I'm going to use a couple of basic tools that I use every day in my teaching, one being a small medicine ball, a small set of dumbbells, and a clothes hanger to show kind of what the face has to do. So just real briefly, I'm going to touch on first, there's a lot of different ways to play. I mean, we can look at the Hall of Fame and there's all kinds of swings, and I'm going to go over in a second two guys who aimed a unique way that wasn't fundamentally correct, if we want to call it that ended up winning over 130 pro tournaments, probably two of the best players of all time being Sam Snead and Lee Trevino. So, you know, all this arguing and stuff that I see going on today is really kind of pointless. I mean, it's picking a skill, getting very good at it. Make sure you understand the fundamentals from how you set up to how you hold the club to how you have to aim to how you have to pressure the club up and down the plane to where the face needs to point. And if you can match all these things up and do it repeatedly, and the most important factor, do it when you're nervous, well, then you're a great golfer. So I'm going to go back to what I was talking about with, you know, Lee Trevino aimed open to his target. You know, I should probably put a bullseye up here on the wall in the future. And he took his club, or in this case the medicine ball, a little bit out, and in transition he let it shallow out. He had a lot of right side bend, he had a lot of sag in his knees, and because of that club or the ball shallowing out, he actually pressured or threw the club a little bit to the right of his aim. So he played basically a controlled push cut, and that got him a bunch of majors and in the Hall of Fame. If he would have set up square and made the same movement, well, he would have missed everything to the right. So how he chose to pressure the club matched how he chose to aim. And the bottom line was, in this case the ball, in golf speak, he understood how to pressure the club to the target and how to point the face where the ball would end up there. Sam Snead did the opposite. He aimed slightly to the right. The ball went back a little inside of the club. He shifted it up and over in transition. From this angle, he pushed more down his trail leg. You can see that's going to start opening my body planes and my where I'm directionally pointing the energy of the club. And he swung a little bit across himself and basically hit a controlled pull, and that went to his target. He has the most wins of all time. I'm sure Tiger will pass him here likely this year. The idea would be both those guys didn't aim parallel left. Now, for how I like to swing a club, and I think as teachers we all have to pick what our preferences are, I like setting up a neutral plane where we're perpendicular to the club. We get all of our joints neutral. We get the head more in the middle of our feet. Now with a chip, you're going to be narrower, you're going to be more up on top of the ball, and with a driver, I'm going to be further away, so my head's going to look further back. But I really don't like adding a lot of tilt in the spine. I like to keep it fairly neutral as you move, and when I've studied kind of my favorite swings, that's kind of how they look like they swing. So to me, a little bit of this is more just the foot being wider, and that sets or establishes your spine a little bit more, like it looks like it's tilted. But I really still feel pretty neutral on top of my hip or my pelvis line. And from here, I feel definitely more stacked over on top because, hey, my feet are narrower. So, you know, putting, chipping, pitching, I play fairly narrow. You're not moving around nearly as much. You can kind of just stay in one place. If I was going to hit a 300-yard drive, to me, you do not stand still. You load over your trail leg, you push down, you push out of the ground, and then you extend up and out, and you jump out of the ground at and beyond impact a little bit. You know, I'm wanting to keep pressuring the ground in my feet so I can keep this circular force going and keep the club stable to my center. So, you know, aim, how you swing, well, it's a preference. I could aim a bunch of ways and throw this medicine ball to someone standing out in front of me. So we have to accept that how we like to swing the club forward is a choice. If you understand that and you develop a sense of how you like to move as an athlete in between your 2 feet, and you can do that repeatedly, you could aim left and throw your energy to the right. You could aim a little right and throw your energy a little to the left. You could get the face pointed to match those things a little bit differently. So just a real quick kind of overview, because I want to talk more just about kind of like how you pressure the club forward, but we'll just kind of the face has to match that. Okay, so we'll use the hanger here, and as I get set up, and I get the hanger square to me. Now, I mean, there's a bunch of things we can go into. Grip preference, strong, weak. There's been great players who've done a bunch of stuff. So this is why, to me, I think it's important to get with your teacher and establish your plan. What's your roadmap from A to Z of how you're going to put all these pieces together? Because there's so many things going on, and that's why I find it a bit amusing when I see everybody saying, well, you have to do this or that. No. The matchups have to point the club when it impacts the ball how you want it. That's really all we're trying to do. Now, I certainly have my style preferences on how you do that, and we'll certainly go into that over time. But the idea would be, if you can get set up like an athlete, and you can see the letter Y of my two arms and the club here, and the club would be established on an angle to the ground that goes through me, and you could swing that and bring it back at impact. Now, I'm not saying you stop at impact. What I'm saying is the club was engineered to hit from this condition, and it would be square in that condition. So if you brought it back there, it would be pointed how it started. That's really all we're trying to do. And you see so many of the world's best ball strikers that the handle comes back into a lower angle or at the same angle that it started, because when it gets pushed up and out to the right, that's going to tilt the center of gravity of the club to the right, and we'll probably get into that with some TrackMan stuff over time. And that's going to tend to hit pushes, and then as an athlete, it's going to activate your hands, and you're going to want to roll the face. But once we understand that where the face points is 80 to 90% of where the ball goes if you have center face contact, why would you ever want to roll something when you could keep it neutral or square to the plane? And what I mean by that is the club or the face would always stay square to the arc of the club as it swung, like my palm here. So they used to think that we rolled the face and we rolled the face. Well, if you're some of these great young athletes that we have now at 100 miles an hour, over 100 miles an hour, 120 miles an hour, 130 miles an hour, how are you going to repeat that at impact? Especially when you start getting nervous. So to me, the master key is to understand how to keep this square-ish to the angle that it starts on as you move it back and forth. Now, then you could just set up how you want to tilt the ball in your aim preference. To me, that's the most effective way. And going back full circle to the beginning of the video, we also have to understand that a bunch of people, guys and girls in the Hall of Fame, didn't do it that way. But they understood how to pressure the club to the target. They understood, when you listen to them, if you listen to the best players, the importance of the club face. You know, when you listen to a lot of great players, when you listen to old interviews, they all understood that where the face pointed was where the ball went. It certainly has become more important as the ball's gotten harder and it comes off a little bit faster. So get together with your teaching pro, get a athletic setup where you're less likely to hurt yourself and you feel ready to move. Orientate yourself to the target in the manner that feels comfortable to you to swing it forward. And then work on understanding how the club has to be pressured and pointed through impact to produce the shot you want to hit. Very few people are trying to hit straight. The club's swinging on an arc, so producing a straight ball flight out of something that's arcing would be unlikely. So get some tilt on the ball, get a stock shot that you like to hit, something that you can repeat and do when you're nervous. And if you can do that time after time after time, and then you understand the mental component and process of how to control your nervous system, your anxiety, your breathing, your heart rate, and some other things, well, then I think you can play some of your best golf. So I hope that helps. I'm going to be doing some more videos on a lot of this stuff over time. Certainly leave any comments you have here if you want to hear anything else. Again, I'm not looking to start any arguments or anything. I want this all to be positive. And I want people to understand, hey, I'm just sharing some information, loose information. To me, get a good teaching professional in your area that you trust, that you believe in their system, and really work on perfecting a skill. And don't get caught up in what we all do of trying all kinds of stuff, because that's just the road to nowhere. Hope that helps.